The difference between a collector and a hoarder, and I'm kind of right in the middle. There's a big difference. A collector displays his collection. A hoarder has them all in boxes and just collects and collects and collects to hoard. And I'm kind of right in the middle. So one of the first things I started collecting was when I was little. I was probably like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old, and my father owned a drugstore, and he used to bring home baseball cards for me and my little brother. And we didn't really know what they were then. I was, he was probably 3 or 4 years younger than me, and all of a sudden we had noticed we had all these cards, and that's when I started watching the Red Sox and watching baseball, and got really in love with baseball, and then kind of got back to the cards because I had all those cards sitting there, and started collecting them, and I really enjoyed it. TTM collecting is through the mail collecting. People obviously collect autographs face to face. They go to the games, so they meet them at shows or whatever. But I do most of my collecting TTM through the mail. And I really started a couple of years ago. One of my friends at work, he collects, and he was doing autographs. And I was like, you know what? I got thousands and thousands of cards. What am I going to do with these things? I said, oh, maybe I'll send them out and try to do autographs again. And I just got back into it, and I really enjoy the mail. I love the mail when the mail comes in and say, yay, I got something in the mail.
Our dad definitely was a huge influence on me getting into collecting. In addition to Dragon Ball Supercards, I collect comic books. I have a collection of Disney pins. I collect pop vinyls. I collect video games. I collect way more than I probably should be.
He collects things that I don't understand, his comic books and his Dragon Balls and stuff. But I understand the need to collect, or the want to collect, and he does his own path and has no interest in any sports stuff, which is fine with me. It's whatever, as long as he doesn't spend $10,000 a year on it, I'm okay with it.
Collecting is a nice hobby, but it's gotten out of control. We have a 4-bedroom house. 2 of the bedrooms and half of the basement is full of his collectibles.
I usually have 100,000 cards. There's just cards and stuff all over the place, and to keep track of 50 years of collecting or 45 years of collecting, and I didn't organize it when I was a kid and when I was younger too much. And I have cards in boxes all over the place.
The worst part of his collecting is the cost, the clutter, and just that he gets completely obsessed with it sometimes. He likes to do the TTM calls, and he has his podcast, and it's turned into a nice hobby. But sometimes it takes up like an entire Sunday morning when we could be doing a family thing, and or he wants to go to a card show and go meet the old players that haven't played ball in 30 years, but he wants to go meet some old guy and maybe get an autograph, and it can be exhausting.
I started a podcast in last January of 2019. I've just recorded my 50th episode. I also have a website at www.ttmcast.com. I have an Instagram account. I have a Twitter account. I'm on Facebook and all sorts of different groups. So it's kind of neat to branch out and be social. The reason I started my podcast is that I love to talk about TTM and autographs. And my family does not like to hear me talk about TTM, and their eyes glaze over, especially my wife, who does not enjoy TTM. She hates it. And my son doesn't know anything about sports, so I needed to find a means to talk TTM and autograph collecting with people that are interested in it. I send out cards to people, requests, and I was wondering, what do they think about that? These strangers, the people that they don't know, are sending them a request they're sending them something in the mail, and they don't know them. Why do they sign? Why do they don't sign? What's their thought? How much time do they spend on it? Do they get 200 a day? Do they get 3 a day? And give me an opportunity to talk to some of my heroes, some of the people that I watched as a kid, and people that play sports. So that was kind of fun.
What part of his thing with collecting is he always wanted to pass it on to somebody. And unfortunately, Andrew never got a passion for baseball cards or sports, but he wanted to collect something to have some type of connection with your dad. So sometimes it's just completely with the two of them feeding the beast to make them happy.
Well, I've always thought, what am I going to do with all this stuff that I have? I'd rather either give it to somebody that truly enjoys it, because I'm not in it for the money. Some of my stuff is valuable in terms of, not thousands of dollars, but I have many cards that are $100, $200, $300 and more. I don't grade my cards, so if I was to sell the stuff nowadays, people want graded cards, which means you send a card into a company, they take it and they say, okay, this is a mint card or a 9 card or a 10 card. It's all based on a 1 to 10 scale. So in terms of selling it, that's for whoever ends up with the collection determine what they want to do with it. But I really would either prefer some younger person getting the collection and enjoying it, or having it someplace where it's going to be displayed as opposed to being sitting in a vault somewhere. So I think I'd rather share it with people than just have it sit and rot in a box someplace.
There's a huge sentimental value to it. I appreciate our dad doing the podcast that he does, hearing his excitement about the players that he gets and the cards that he gets, just the excitement over this D-list player from the Bruins. It's just great hearing his passion for doing it and getting to talk to all these different players and collectors.
Collecting is kind of nostalgic, so it's kind of like a time capsule almost. Sometimes I reacquire cards from when I was a kid. Sometimes I'll get unopened cards, and I think that's kind of like a time capsule, that I open a pack of cards from 1983 or 84, and I remember watching these guys play, and it's kind of like a little time capsule in your hand, and you get to go back in time for 30 seconds while you open the cards, or a minute, and I really like that. I like history. I like the keeping the past alive. You remember things that were fun for you, and I think that's what sports does. Sports is always kind of a window to your past in some instances, and it's great watching the current games. But I have a box of ticket stubs that I just saved as I don't know why, because I collect things. And I've been going through and categorizing and reminiscing about all the games that I went to, and I checked, and I've been to over 100. I have over 100 Red Sox ticket stubs.
It makes him happy, and at the end of the day, if he's happy, I'm happy.